I'm Penny ST, and I'm the host of Peace with Penny. We're excited to continue with the second episode of our fifth season. Well, we are excited, but who could have guessed this would happen? With the attack against Israel, it's a very sad time. Thousands of missiles sent from Gaza, terrorists crossing the border, shooting civilians and Israeli soldiers, kidnapping dozens of civilian women, children, men, and military soldiers, dragging them back to Gaza from their homes as hostages. Counts of the dead and wounded keep increasing every hour. The Gaza terrorists didn't let even the dead rest in peace and took them back to Gaza. This is 50 years after the Yom Kippur War, and it's a surprise again. They'll have to look closely at what happened, but that analysis is for another time. So, I'm the host of a Peace vodcast. What now? Our second interview of season 5 is due to come out on this Tuesday, October 10th, with Phil Saunders of Path of Hope and Peace. I asked Phil how he, his wife, and teenage daughter are doing as they spend their time in their bomb shelter safe room. And I also asked him what he wanted to do about the interview. Here's what Phil said.
Hi, Penny. Well, I would have to say that these last 2 days have certainly been the most shocking and distressing that I have experienced in my 18 years of living in Israel. I woke yesterday at 7 in the morning to the sound of thuds in the distance, but no rocket sirens at that time for our area. They began at 8:15, and we then rushed down to our reinforced room, me, my wife, and teenage daughter, and we ended up spending the whole morning there because the rocket sirens went on and on. More sirens than I have heard up till then in my entire time of living here. And there were brief gaps between them, which allowed us to go out into the house and grab food and drink and the radio and phone chargers. But yeah, we were hunkering down in that room for all that morning and didn't know anything more than that rockets were coming from Gaza. And I was exchanging messages with my peacemaker friends during that morning, including some Palestinians that live in the neighbouring villages here and had rockets fall in their villages. Luckily, nobody was hurt, but yeah, we were all in it together and we were expressing messages of mutual support. And we were just waiting for it to stop. But the the shocking thing looking back now is that we were entirely in the dark as to what was happening in the area of the Gaza Strip because we live here right next to the West Bank and my Palestinian neighbours are in the West Bank and that's a long way away from the Gaza Strip, an hour's drive. And we had no idea of the scale of atrocity that was unfolding down there, where somehow Hamas militants were able to breach the fence in huge numbers and overrun Israeli communities, uh, killing and kidnapping at will. And we were not hearing any of that on the radio. The radio was playing soothing music, uh, just intermittently broken by instructions to go to the reinforced rooms or bomb shelters. But no more information than that. And only after the sirens stopped in the early afternoon did I venture out and start reading more widely about what was happening. And at that time, the casualty figures, we'd been told there was one 70-year-old woman who had been killed by a rocket and several others seriously wounded. But that was the scale of things. We did not know that there was something far worse happening, which now, it seems, was effectively Israel's 9/11. We were caught completely unawares, and what's happened since then is today, the second day, is when the real scale of everything has become apparent, and the death toll rose into double figures and then triple figures, and it now stands at 600, which is unfathomable. We can't understand how this was allowed to happen. And we understand that people who were in those communities near the Gaza Strip were completely on their own for hours. Um, and we are all in shock. Now, today, by comparison, has been eerily quiet. And because there have been no sirens whatsoever today in our area, I decided to venture out of the house. I didn't leave the house at all yesterday, but today I ventured out into Tsuradasa and everything seemed quiet. And then I went to Ziad's town, Husan, and it was eerily quiet. And continued then to Jerusalem, where again things seem very quiet. So I think we're in a situation of anxious waiting for whatever the next stage of this war is going to be. But we're still currently just now processing the enormity of what has happened.
And I asked Phil what his Palestinian partner Ziad said regarding what his Palestinian friends were thinking.
As for our interview, I don't think it's lost its relevance. The cooperation between Israelis and Palestinians in this area is continuing. We are working to keep it that way because we do not want to get drawn into this conflict. We do not allow violence or extremists to drive a wedge between us in this area. And so, yeah, I think we can proceed with releasing the interview because maybe it's more important than ever now.
I'm also heartened by the messages of continued inspiration from the other peace organizations I've reached out to. The consensus seems to be, of course, we'll keep working. They are the message of reason and of hope. So we continue. On our show, we interview Israeli and Palestinian peace organizations. We believe that peace is possible in the Middle East, and we are committed to giving a platform to the organizations that are working to make it happen. We've had over 75 interviews with incredible organizations, and we thank you for your interest. In our next episode, we'll be speaking with Phil Saunders of Path of Hope and Peace. We first spoke with Phil in January of 2022, and we wanted to get an update of their work. Path of Hope and Peace began in 2014 as a connection between peacemakers in the Israeli town of Sur Hadassah and the Palestinian town of Husan. In Israel and the West Bank, communities are often divided along ethnic and religious lines. We'll learn how Path of Hope and Peace has transformed the town of Husan from a center of violence into a model of peace and cooperation. Since the beginning, they've added other Palestinian and Israeli towns and have become a model embraced as a working prototype for conflict transformation, which today is known as the Husan, Beitar Elite, and Sur Hadassah model. In 2021, Path of Hope and Peace was awarded the Victor J. Goldberg Prize for Peace in the Middle East. But you may be wondering why I work so hard to share the heartening stories of Israeli and Palestinian peace organizations. I'm Jewish, and that's part of it. Israel is so important to our religion that for centuries in every service, we pray facing Jerusalem. But I live almost 7,500 miles away from the Middle East. Did something happen to get my attention? You bet. It was the summer of 2014, and for my son's bar mitzvah present, just like many Jewish parents, we wanted him to bond with the Holy Land. Oh, it worked perhaps too well. My husband had stayed back at the hotel, and our friends, my son and I, had just stopped in a pharmacy.
Run to the bomb shelter, sweetie. Please hurry. I didn't hear the sirens at first, but the Israelis did. They're used to hearing these things. We ran to the back of the storeroom. It was a 12-foot by 24-foot windowless bomb shelter. My heart's pounding. Boom! Boom! I hear it and feel the percussion of the exploding bombs. I'm trying not to get sick. I look at my 13-year-old son and I think I'll never forgive myself if something happens to him.
That's an excerpt from a speech I gave to the Orange County Jewish Bar Association. It was the first, but not the last time we had to run to a bomb shelter. Our adventure and my transformation is also the subject of my book, Blasted from Complacency, A Journey from Terror to Transformation in Israel. There is no chapter in a parenting book on what to do when a war starts and you're on a family vacation. Think touring extraordinary and sacred sites mixed with cowering in bomb shelters. I'm still trying to get over the Jewish guilt of taking my son to war for his bar mitzvah present. The impact of being human targets helped me understand the plight of Israelis living like this, and it also made me want to work on peace. How Israel is often described on the news is not what I'd seen with my own eyes. And I felt Palestinian parents also preferred their children playing safely in their backyards. The missiles exploded just near enough to blow apart my world as I knew it, forever changing me. And you'd never recognize my life today with what it was like then. I believe I found my life's purpose. We hope you will join us on October 10th to hear another amazing story of empathy and strength. Please share the link to the recording on our Peace with Penny YouTube channel with family and friends. If you are a peace organization, please share these hopeful messages with your supporters. And if you missed last week's first episode of Season 5 or any other episodes from previous seasons, you can find them on our YouTube channel as well. And may you live in peace, shalom, and salam.